Greetings, visionaries. This is your host, the INFJ Visionary. Couple things I thought we'd talk about today. One thing, maybe kind of more personal. Not that I'll get into my personal life exactly, but I was thinking about friends that I've had, and I was thinking about this. As we'd mentioned in our last broadcast, this not belonging thing, this being in a bit of a different track, but on the other hand, being able to know how to be personable and sociable and genuinely enjoying other people as well. I think that's an aspect that's not often pointed out about the extroverted feeling component in regards to INFJness anyway. But I was thinking about several different friends I've had that I don't have anymore, and I was also thinking about the stories we tell ourselves. But I'll come into that in a little bit. But I had this one friend, and he was a next door neighbor, and he was a little bit older than me, and we lived next door to each other for quite a long time. But then we weren't really friends, but we got to be friends. And like a lot of people, I think you know when you're an INFJ that you can have an influence on people. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of will or what it is, but it's a thing. Okay. Anyway, I did have an influence on him, and he was also a really good friend. And in many ways, I had an influence that his parents absolutely detested. But I don't want to get so much into all that. It's like, why do you have to listen to what they do? Why do you have to listen to what they say? You don't have to listen. Anyway, I digress. I digress. But we stayed friends for a long time, and that's been the case with a lot of friends I've had, where it's been decades. um, this friend and I it was longer than a decade that we were friends, from very very young, in our teens to in our mid 20s or so. And getting to my point, the where we fell out is, um, we did grow apart. Obviously, that happens, but there was substances involved, and on the one hand, at that time, I used to imbibe the nectar of the gods, and yeah, I had to quit doing that. I switched to tea and stuff now, and but it was a factor. And when I don't, that doesn't work out for my physiology. Being a dragon, it's just not good. Alcohol and being a dragon don't mix. Anyway, he called me one night. I don't remember the specifics, except I remember being in my apartment. I remember the phone call, and I remember being somewhat inebriated. And I don't even remember what he said, but I did not like something. This is something about me. I don't like people telling me what I am. And I'm always telling my assistants here on this channel, that help me with the descriptions and stuff. It's like, don't tell the INFJs who they are. Okay, tell them what you think you are, or you can speak in terms of we, because if I say we, you say what we, Kimosabe. Anyway, I remember this conversation. Sorry to digress. And I didn't like how he was defining me, and I told him so in no uncertain terms. And that's that direct thing. And I should make a note, because we should talk about our direct speech in a future broadcast, and how that really gets us in trouble, right? Gets me in trouble. Now, a lot of INFJs seem to have more sense than I do in that regard, but let's stay on focus. Anyway, I remember saying da 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 da, and he's like, when he says da 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 da, and then he says, well, you can call me, if you ever want to be friends, basically. And I never did. I never did. And that was a mistake. That was my pride. And that's what it took me 5 minutes to get around to that. But I think that's valuable. And this gets into the other thing. Why was that? Well, the story I told myself, okay? And the story I was telling myself was that I was right. And I was feeling disrespected by whatever went down in the conversation. But the fact of the matter is that it was just his POV. It was just his point of view. And um, I didn't have to adopt the sort of position that I did to the extent that I did, and to the degree that we could have gone on being friends, even if we had grown apart. Um, there might have been some more life in that friendship, and it's because of my actions that it didn't continue, and that's happened not the same way in other long-term friendships, but there's been other places in friendships I had a while where I did or said something that didn't go down with the other party, and in some cases, as I pointed out with one work friend I had who wasn't an INTP, he just didn't improve in my behavior, and in regards to that particular situation. And I don't mind telling you, I had gone a little bit kind of midlife crisisy. That can happen to dragons when we get into those middle years. I don't want to get into specifics there, but that and other things ended up meaning that that friendship was over, and there was nothing I could say or do because once I had been judged in a certain way, it was the deal was sealed. And you know what? I respect people that do that. I don't. I obviously missed my friend, and but on the other hand, this is the thing I want to say. If people don't know that we are trying to be good, people or other dragons, if they don't know that we're trying to do good and be good, if they are so quick to judge our behavior um, that they think we should be banished, then that is their choice. And we often are famous for doing it to others. Okay, so you can't be mad on the one hand. On the other hand, I give you a picture sort of two friendships. One, in both cases, it was my words and actions that terminated the friendship. And essentially, in one case, I could have I could have reached out and salvaged the friendship, and that would have been the right move. In the other case, I didn't have the opportunity. In both cases, I really miss both of those friends. And as you age, and you have increasingly less friends, or it's not so much that. I learned this after my first long term relationship ended, and I was looking to connect with another female dragon. Now I ended up with Mrs. Dragon, and that's great. But the process of getting there, one thing I noticed is that all the other dragons that I was dating that were in my sort of age range, we'd all had some bangs and bruises from the relationships we've been in. So you never go into those relationships when you're older in the same way you did when you're young, because when you're young, you don't know. You don't know what getting involved with certain types of people will do to you, and it's really a factor of time. Anyway, the story we tell ourselves. Yeah, let's wrap on that. The story I was telling myself, probably in both cases, was not accurate. In hindsight, I can see where my behavior, in the one hand, was I was just being erratic, and that's not like us as INFJs, as you know. But sometimes we get. That's why I'm always telling you, you got to keep an eye on that shadow, because what it'll do is if you repress it and repress it and repress it, it will come up and take over your life sometime, and that might be a good one to talk about later too. The dark empath. We didn't touch on that today, but that's it for today, and I hope you've got some. Maybe you learned a little bit from my tale, and if you got a friend and you did or something in your way of speaking that put a wedge between you, and it's pride that's keeping you from at least coming to some sort of common terms with them. Yeah, just give up the pride because it's better that way. Until I see you again, keep on keeping on.